Welcome to the frontier. We're venturing into the AFC West to find the fantasy winners, losers, and sleepers. Get ready. The countdown is on.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't follow no script. I make my own lane. Got a spreadsheet mind and a Redraft brain. Dynasty beats got that tape in my veins. While they drafting by names, I'm exposing their game. No cap. We study the craft like film room rats. Gyms in the fourth while they stuck in the past. It's levels to the dynasty. Keep or flex. From rookies to pros, we demand and respect. That's real. And I ain't never need clout for my clout to show. Just a mic I take and a team I grow. This ain't just picks, it's principle G. It's fourth in fantasy where you build your legacy. We 10 toes down, yeah, we stand.
And we are back, baby. Fourth and fantasy with another episode. I feel like I don't even have to say my name at this point. But for all the newcomers, if you're new here, I'm Honcho. And this is my guy.
Siriaco, call me Rocco.
Yeah. And you already know we are your fantasy playbook to more championship wins. And Rocco, where are the sickos?
We are a fantasy football podcast for Dynasty Sickos by Dynasty Sickos. But
Yes, sir.
everybody can come into the house and chill with us.
Everybody can potty, man. We're open to the books, and it's a wonderful day. It's a wonderful night, wherever you are viewing us, how are you viewing us. Football's almost back, man. 2 more days, Rocco. I feel like the time sped up. We was waiting all summer for this, and already know how they cooking off the NFL season. Cowboys, Eagles, we're bringing it to you, and you already know which way I'm going with it. My Dallas Cowboys are coming out with a dub over the Philadelphia Phillies. Sorry, Jay. Sorry, my guy. I don't want to talk too much shit. I don't want to get too much far in my head of myself. But Rocco, how do you feel about NFL finally being back, my G?
Man, it's been a long time coming, but once it's here, it's like balls to the walls, fucking football, you know, Monday, football Thursday,
Yeah.
football Sunday. I think we even got football Friday, man. It's like, man, if I could just have football, NFL football, the men's league every day of the week, man, I wouldn't be able to get shit done.
Sounds beautiful. And then you throw in college football, which gave us a very cool week one. There was a lot of upset. There was three in the top 10 upsets. But Bama, you know how we feeling over here. Go Dogs once again. Thank you, Florida State, for doing what you do. Texas, sorry. Everybody was on I won't go too far because we are talking about the AFC West. But I thought it was hilarious how many people were on Arch Manning, and he goes out, nevertheless playing one of the top defenses in college football. And people all offseason, he's generational. He's this. He's a Manning. They got it in their blood. He didn't look too hot. He didn't look too sexy in that first half. You know what I'm saying, against them. And I know he'll bounce back, nevertheless. But it also goes to stop throwing these kids on such a high pedestal. We did it with the Golden Boy in Jacksonville with Lawrence. We did it again with Caleb Williams. How many times are we going to learn? Stop calling these kids generational. It's not even fair to the kid. He's not even getting a chance to go out there, and I always said he's going to need snaps. A lot of people were like, oh, he might come out in 2026. After that first game, I'm telling you, right, he ain't coming out in 2026. That boy going to try to get all he needs to do. He's going to try to get all the experience, all the play, and then he going to come out. But like I said,
Man,
don't get too far on Manning. Don't get too high, or don't get too high. Don't get too low on Manning. What was you gonna say,
I,
Rocco?
man, I seen a funny meme after that game, and because I was watching and I'm like, man, this dude don't have like the solid mechanics that you would think that
His
come
throwing motion is
with the
ass.
Manning pedigree. And I saw a meme where they said he's not like his other uncles. He's like Uncle Rico throwing that football.
Oh yeah,
You know
from
what I'm talking about?
motherfucking
From Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I,
yeah.
but I tell you what, man, probably the most impressive play I saw was a play where he got out of the pocket and started running. and a guy was coming after him, and he fucking juked the fucking dude out of bounds
Yes, I
and
did see
for a
that.
big long run. It might have been his only play of the whole day, but that kind of gives you a little insight of like the athleticism. If he can, I mean, it's a lot to ask a guy to fix his mechanics as a junior. Um, and you got to give a lot of credit to Ohio State. I mean, their defense was just fucking
Legit.
awesome in that game. Matt Patricia, former Patriot, defensive coordinator and head coach, was just scheming it in his
Yep.
wheelbox and,
Yep.
and causing him a lot of problems. But um, you know, I don't get too high or low from it, but I am a little worried about those mechanics. Not too many guys, really kick ass in the NFL with really bad mechanics, except for Philip Rivers, a couple guys. But I'm not sweating it too much. And I really feel like the plan all along was for him to go 4 years. So
Hmm.
I don't think that made a difference in the time frame either way, because I think it was always written that he's going to come out in 2027.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's jump into it, man. We're talking about the AFC West today, and you know what? I think when I'm looking at it across the board, this actually is a pretty fun division, right? And numerous years, and obviously you got the dynasty with the Chiefs. We seen what Mahomes has done. A lot of people in real life football have him as the GOAT. Fantasy wise, a little different story, but still, nevertheless, one of those guys that you want on your team. Broncos, you know how we feel about our guy Bo Nix. Like, I don't feel like we can't say any more positive things about Bo. Then you got the Raiders. Rocco's literally on record for saying how well he thinks Geno Smith is going to do this year with Las Vegas. And then you got the Chargers and Herbert. When you're looking at the quarterback landscape, Rocco, who do you like most here? Like when you're in fantasy purposes, right? We could always talk about in reality who is the best quarterback. I think if you choose anybody rather than Mahomes, you're probably crazy. But this year, 2025, who are you really riding with from the AFC West as quarterback position?
I mean, like honestly, like I don't think you can go wrong with any quarterback in the division. And it's crazy that there's a real possibility that Mahomes could finish as the third or fourth guy in this division, and it's not because Mahomes sucks. It's because like they have really good fucking quarterbacks in the division.
Mhm.
But if I was to pick one out of the division, um, especially from a dynasty standpoint, probably I would take him in 2025 as well to lead that that division in quarterback fantasy points. I'd
Mhm.
probably go with Bo Nix. I mean, I think Bo Nix. I mean, the Broncos run an up tempo offense,
Yep.
and and shout out to our guy Roach. I didn't realize this until I started reading some of his dossiers on some of the teams, but they actually return all five starters on the O line, and that's where it all starts. And they also led the NFL last year in pass and rush block win rates. So Bo Nix is going to be he's going to be well protected. They're going to have a nice running game to support him. They're going to run an up-tempo offense. Marvin Mims kind of broke out down the stretch last year. They also got Cortland Sutton, who's proven himself to be maybe not the fanciest number one wide receiver,
Reliable.
but a solid one,
Reliable, yeah.
respectable one.
Yeah.
You got your guy Troy Franklin.
Yes,
If
sir.
you look
Speak
at
on it.
a second year jump, they drafted Pat Bryant, who Coach Payton compared to Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas, I mean, people forget Michael Thomas was the best wide receiver by numbers for a couple years there. I think he broke the league record in catches. Um, so that just kind of shows you, and then tight end Evan
Evan
Ingram
Ingram.
could play that Joker role, could be moved all along the formation.
Mhm.
And I mean, people remember how good Jimmy Graham was for the Saints years ago.
Mhm.
So that offense, that whole offense is up. I mean, you got a guy in Bo Nix who broke out as a rookie down the stretch, made the playoffs. I think he threw for over 4,000 yards. He definitely has 400 to 500 yard rushing upside. Could get you about 5 touchdowns. So when you're talking about a guy that could give you 4,500 yards, a few hundred yards on the ground,
Hmm.
touchdowns on the ground. I mean, he's going to be hard to beat. I mean, they have a lot of good quarterbacks in the division, but if everything goes right for that team and they stay healthy, Bo Nix stays healthy, I can
It's
easily
up.
see him be the best quarterback in the division.
It's up, man. And he already showed what he did in his rookie year. Now, like where I'm very much betting on a year two jump from Troy Franklin. I liked what we saw from him from preseason. And that second game, he had 2 touchdowns. Looked very comfortable with his boy from college. And then you throw in the other cats, Evan Ingram. I feel like we still haven't seen what they're gonna do with him yet. And then you throw in that running game, which you hope is better with J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, and that's going to complement Bo Nix. I think everything's going to play in with each other, right? However you feel about Marvin Mims, I'm not that high on him, but you can't deny the sneakiness of the weeks. If we're talking best ball, there's no reason not to like Marvin Mims. If you're asking me health wise, I think he's good. He's explosive. He's that guy on the offense that can give them chunk plays. I think this year Troy Flinken will give you more of that because he's added a weight. He's added more muscle. He can handle more punishment. He can go through the middle a little bit more. He won't get pushed around at the line. He's gotten better at his releases, at the catch point, tougher. So I really like that about Troy. And then, like you spoke on with Cortland Sutton, he's not going to be elite. You won't even throw him in that tier two of guys. Shoot, you might even not even throw him in that tier three of guys. But Cortland Sutton as your wide receiver two, you should feel pretty good about. Honestly, he has a production, and
From a
it's
fantasy standpoint, you're saying.
yes. Yeah. Fantasy. Yep.
Got
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. What Rocco said from a fantasy standpoint, a wide receiver two. For the Broncos, he's their wide receiver one, bona fide. There's no question about that for sure. I think what I want to see from that overall offense is how Bo Nix feels between the progressions of Evan Ingram and then whoever the wide receiver two is. I think if we're looking at it, Evan Ingram might be the second target in that offense behind Sutton, just depending on how quickly him and Franklin can get going into the regular season, right? I feel like the chemistry, sure, everything starts to play on more in the regular season. So I look very much forward to seeing that from Bo. And then looking at Patrick Mahomes, once again, he is the GOAT in real life. Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. But when you're looking at Mr. Mahomes himself, you got to look at the grand scheme of things. Yes, he still has a returning Kelsey back with him. But this is most likely Travis Kelsey's last year. And I still think he does have a top 10 season left in him. But then after that, it gets real bleak. Rasheed Rice suspended. Our boy Jalen Royals is not playing week one. That shit hurt my soul because I wanted him to take advantage of the fact that Rasheed Rice is not going to play. But right now, because of knee tendonitis, he's not playing, right? So now Hollywood Brown is back at practice. It's not if you and then I don't want to also forget about our boy Worthy either, right? So if you also are hoping for a year two jump from Worthy, then maybe you do slightly feel optimistic about Patrick Mahomes for those first couple weeks. I think he's going to struggle. I think Andy Reid's going to need to schematically get them going because they're not going to have enough firepower to me.
My my issue is that Hollywood Brown and Worthy are kind of the same archetype of player. They both
See, guys.
situational deep threats unless until we see them start routing people up on a consistent basis. They feel to me like situational deep threats. And Hollywood Brown's been injured. I mean, God, he's been injured ever since he was with the Ravens. That's why they let him out the room. And
Mhm.
all of that's going to feed into Patrick Mahomes not having that ceiling. I mean, he showed us that ceiling in 2022 with 5,200 yards, but
He
the
went
last
crazy.
but the last two seasons, 41-83, not bad for
Shit.
most people, but not for It's
for
not shit, but it's for Patrick Mahomes,
Patrick Mahomes. Yeah,
who has two 5,000 yard seasons and was averaging, around 4,800 yards, for about 6 years there. For him to go, 4,183 and under 4,000 yards last year, and I think we were thinking that coming into the season, it looked like he started to restock that room, but then Rashee Rice gets suspended. Um,
Jalen Rose get hurt.
like you said, he's out. Hollywood Brown coming back, but I mean, what can we expect out of Hollywood Brown unless Xavier Worthy proves himself to be a number one wide receiver? Then he's back to his most trustworthy guy to move the ball, being Travis Kelsey.
Travis Kelce.
Who, I mean, how focused is he on the game? He's married to Taylor Swift, and his game has fallen off a little bit in the last couple of years. Um, uh, you know, Down the stretch in games.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of worries me as to who the go-to guy is going to be. And right now, it looks like it could even be, Isaiah Pacheco. They may just lean on the run in the defense early on in the season and try to tread water. I'm not saying that it can't be big up once Rashee Rice comes back and Jalen Royals comes back, but I could see a slow start for that team. So that's another reason why Nix is clearly the QB1 in this division. And if I was a betting man, I would probably put Herbert, maybe even Geno, ahead of him at the end of the season because what Geno has is a lot of underrated weapons, but what he has is Chip Kelly, who's going to run a fast-paced offense. So
Mm-hmm.
if they try to run anything like they did when he was with the Eagles, they're going to try to lead the league in plays. And Geno is a competent enough quarterback to run that type of offense. So you add Ashton Jeanty to a Bowers, you got Myers, as long as his contract situation doesn't hold him out. You got a Jack Best, you got a Thornton, two exciting rookies, a few exciting rookies coming into play. As
Yeah.
long as they don't fall flat on their face, that can be an exciting offense as well. So, I mean, out of all the divisions, this might be the most fun division from a fantasy football perspective because you got stars across all positions in this division.
Yeah, like I said, especially at the quarterbacks, where it gives you that competitive. You don't know. Well, for the most part, on paper, you would think the Chiefs would come out on top here, but Chargers could give them a run for their money. We got to see what happens with the Raiders. Like, I'm never going to be the one to shit on Geno Smith. I'm never going to be that guy. I loved him at West Virginia, and yes, did he live up to the first round quarterback? I guess it depends on who you ask, but there's been a lot more shittier first round quarterbacks to come in the NFL.
He's
And
been damn good for the last few
you
years.
hear
I mean,
me?
I think as in a fantasy football perspective, he was a top five guy. I think in
Yeah,
I want to say 2023 or 22. I
yeah.
mean, he was really really good. I think that first year he got the start after Russell Wilson left. So we can still see that guy. That guy is still there.
Like, when I'm looking at Geno, still got to see what happens with the wide receivers. You got Jacoby Myers asking for a trade, which throws a little bit of whammy in there. And so, who's going to be your next guy up? If they do end up moving off of Thornton, then you got Jack Besh, then you got Thornton, like you said, and then you still got what I'm saying, my Go Dogs, Brett Bowers, and then still got Michael Mayers, you got Ashton Jeanty, woo woo woo. So Geno Smith, I don't think he's going to need to play hero ball. I think what they want to do is they want a guy who's not going to screw the game up for them, but a guy who's going to keep them in games. So we just got to see how that passing game goes. And then with Justin Herbert, it's really how you feel. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, it's a running. They're going to run. They're going to run. They're going to run." But he has a fair good group, and I feel like they upgraded honestly from what they were from last year. You got Lad McConkey once again, go Dogs. They re-signed or brought back Keenan Allen, then I mean I'm not really much high on Quentin Johnson. It's either up or down. I feel like it's whatever QJ you get for that particular day, and then Trey Harris. That or you keep going even further with Conklin, Aronde Gatson. They have pieces. They have veterans. They have young pieces. Chargers, I won't say will shock the world because they still got to come out on defense, right? Justin Herbert still has to stay healthy. I believe the last couple seasons, he's been that line's been getting him. I won't say fucked up, but there have been times where
A lot of Rashawn Slater out for the
he's
season.
out
That
for the
was
season. It's not good.
brutal. That was a brutal loss, before the season even started.
Mhm.
So that gives me a little trepidation with that team because I mean they still
They
have
moved him
Joe
over.
Alt, but losing Rashawn Slater, that's a fucking nut. That's a nut breaker before the
Yeah, they
season
moved
even started.
Joe Alt to the left side, so he's now their new left tackle. And if I'm remembering correctly, their right tackle now, who's going to be replacing Joe Alt, would have been the backup tackle initially, or the starter initially, something like that. Once again, I don't follow the Chargers. I'm not like one of those Cowboys fans who get pissed with the team, and be like, I'm so tired of rooting for these guys. I'm gonna go become a LA Chargers fan. That sounds even fucking worse. Anyways, what what Super Bowls can I talk shit about? Anyway, now if just last note on the QB landscape for the AFC West. If you had to give a quarterback that you would say is most likely to let people down, who would you say?
I mean, to be honest, I think it could be two guys. I know I just said I really like this guy as a talent, and I think you know, he may be the most gifted quarterback in the whole division, but Herbert losing his blindside tackle before the season starts, and that team, obviously committing heavily to the run. I worry a little bit about their volume of passing attack, and don't get me wrong, down the stretch that team was
They're
like the
tough.
most efficient passing attack. Very very play action oriented, but they were getting guys wide open, and he can win with efficiency. But I worry those couple things worry me: the
Mhm.
pass volume and the loss of his blindside tackle. I know they got another awesome tackle, but having those bookend tackles, to protect both sides, both edges, that's an advantage that
Agreed.
most teams don't have, and that's an advantage that you would have liked to see for Herbert, considering some of the brutal hits he's taken over his career. That worries me. And the other thing that worries me is Patrick Mahomes. He's well on his way to being the IRL in real life GOAT, but that team's defense has been so good the last few years, while the weapons have been meh
Mm.
for the last few years. Kind of that confluence of events and situations has made him, instead of being, a top five, top three quarterback, that's made him, you know, a low end number one quarterback. And that's not who you thought you were getting when you drafted him in your dynasty drafts a couple years ago. So unless he gets back to being that guy that's, pushing for 5,000 yards, and maybe he is in the second half of the season once everybody gets
Mhm.
onboarded and ramped up, but to start the season, he may be a
Hey, I can
disappointment.
get jiggy with that shit, Dre. I know you know how like when you come in with these hot takes. Not even I wouldn't even say that's a hot take, honestly, with how Mahomes been trending the last 2 years, and you could say with that overall offense, things like that. Like he's only 2 years removed from throwing for 5,000, and it seems like for most of his career, he's been a double-digit interception thrower. So there's been a few years where he throws single digits. So if you're going to be a double-digit interception thrower guy, you have to either be in the 30s for passing TDs, or you have to throw over 4,000 plus yards to have to be a in that top 10, especially with Mahomes. Don't get me wrong, Mahomes will take off with that motherfucker. But I'm not saying he's Jaden Daniels. So he doesn't really give you that type of upside, right? If but
Mhm.
I don't want to spend too much more time on the quarterbacks so we can get to the running backs, but I always find it perplexing that of how high Patrick Mahomes goes or who people select of after him, right? Or because it's like what in fantasy wise, once again, I want to say fantasy wise. Please don't come for me. Fantasy wise, right? What does Mahomes do better than the other top elite guys in fantasy? Better wise. What type of go
Wait,
ahead?
you said
No, I'm
Punk
saying for
Mahomes?
Pat Mahomes, what does he do better than the rest of the elite quarterbacks and for fantasy purposes? For where you have to take
Uh,
Mahomes in a draft. Let's say this is super flex. I've seen Patrick Mahomes still go in that third round. I don't want Patrick Mahomes. I have never selected Patrick Mahomes, if I'm being quite honest with you.
no, I just don't see this. I just don't see the ceiling with him right now. Until we see that Patrick Mahomes that was regularly
I
throwing
need
for
that.
4,800 yards plus, I, I don't. I'm not seeing the upside. My problem with Patrick Mahomes, when I look at it on paper, like who is his go-to receiver? You know, outside of maybe a Travis Kelsey, who could do that heavy lifting, but I mean, who's that receiver that's gonna get that first down when he
Mhm.
needs it to keep the chains moving? Like yeah, I mean Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, they may sprinkle in some huge plays, but who's going to keep the team on schedule besides if Pacheco can give you 4 yards, 4 yards, and then the team's putting eight in the box on third down. Who's
Yeah.
going to get to the sticks that he can confidently throw it to? I don't know who that guy is. Maybe a guy will emerge that we're not talking about. But until Rasheed Rice and maybe a Jalen Royals gets back on the field, I don't see that guy in the
You hit that
building.
shit spot on the head, Rocco. And let's get these tight ends out the way, right? I still like the overall landscape with the tight ends in the AFC West. When we're looking at the Broncos, we spoke on Evan Ingram. When we look at the Chiefs, we spoke on Travis Kelsey, one of the goats. The Chiefs had several in their history. Tony Gonzalez to be one of them. Raiders, Brock Bowers. And then the Chargers have the weakest tight end room, Conklin and Oronde Gasson. So I feel like they're automatically at the bottom. Everything else is basically up to you of how, and I feel like the de facto you would have to put Evan Ingram as that third in that group. Then Brock Bowers and Travis Kelsey would round out one and two. I have to go Brock Bowers as my number one, just cause. You know what I'm saying? And I'm biased. I'm biased as fuck, and y'all can call me biased as fuck for that. I'll take it. And then you got Travis Kelsey.
That's
And then you got
nice.
Travis Kelsey at number two. So it's
Mhm.
I know y'all saying he's a Hall of Fame, but how could he be two? Cause I'm not putting him in front of more fucking dog. You know what I'm saying? He's a Travis Kelsey's the third. Let me
He's
talk.
the
Come on, I'm gonna
third.
talk. Let me stop talking, Rocco. Talk to the people. Let's hear him. Explain yourself.
Man, I like Evan Ingram as long as he can stay healthy, and that's a big if because he hasn't been healthy for portions of the last couple of years. But give me Evan Ingram. I mean, Evan Ingram's already shown his upside as a 100 catch guy
Hmm.
in the NFL. Um, so he's already shown that on film. And I'm not saying he could be a 100 catch guy, but I mean, who else is gonna feast in the middle of the field consistently for that Denver Broncos team? I mean, he's gonna open up. He's gonna open a
Hmm.
big portion of the field to Bo Nix, who I have, as being the best quarterback in the division,
Yeah.
fantasy football wise.
Always gotta put that
I can't put
disclaimer.
him, above IRL. That's we're not fucking nuts over here. I mean, we're gonna spit some hot takes, but
We are
we're
on
not that
crack.
crazy. But
No crack over here.
but but I mean, like we said like we say with tight ends, he could I could easily see a world where he's the second target on that team. all of the other guys have question marks. Sutton is an established number one for that team, but I mean, we're hoping for a year or two leap from Troy Franklin. We saw some flashes down the stretch from Marvin Mims. Uh, you know, uh, Sean Payton saying glowing things about Troy Franklin, but Evan Ingram is a guy that's, essentially health wise, if he's healthy, he's in his prime and he should be a target hog in the middle of the field. So, give me a little bit more. I'll take a little bit more upside with him because I think they'll have a better offense overall
Mm-hmm.
than the Chiefs. Uh, Point blank, I think they're going to have a better offense than the Chiefs. And they actually are my team, my sleeper team to win that division. I think they will win it. That's how much faith I have in Coach Sean Payton. But yeah, I think over the course of the season, Evan Ingram's going to be the number two for that team, and I think he outscores Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has a lot of questions with him, as we talked about. With his personal life, is this the last hurrah for him? He may start out hot, but what's going to happen once Rashee Rice comes in and starts operating in the portions of the field where Kelce wins at? What's going to happen when Jalen Royals, gets onto the field and starts winning, his opposition? What's going to happen when Xavier Worthy takes that next step? So, even though Travis Kelce could start the season as the number one for that team, by mid-season he could be the fourth or fifth option for that team. So give me Ingram. I think, like I said, I think he outscores Travis Kelce. Maybe it's a hot take. Maybe I'm not giving Kelce his respect, but I'm just calling as I see for
Hey man, you know
2025.
I like it with any kind of take, whether it's a hot take, cold take. For that one, and there could be some facts behind it where you could use where another note with the amount of what Rashee Rice going or suspended, Royals healing a knee, that makes it easier for defenses to key on him because he comes the guy. He is the guy that you can't let beat you, right? If Xavier Worthy beats me, cool. If Juju Boo Boo Smith Schuster beats me, if he beats me, cool. You feel me? If
But
Hollywood Brown beats,
they
what
still
happened?
got Boo Boo.
They still
They
got
still got
Juju.
Juju.
Juju on that beat. You did. So
Lord,
if
Lord, that fucking offense is
you know
gonna
what I'm saying, if he beats
struggle
me,
to start
cool.
the season.
But if
Struggle
Travis
bust.
Kelsey beats me, and we knew that this is the only guy that they had, and he still beats us, that's on me. That's on me as a coach. All right. And I'm not saying Hollywood Brown's trash because he's been in the NFL, but he's also can't stay healthy. You feel me? And I'm not wasting my breath. He's not somebody I've selected on my teams. And if we're talking, still going back on talking about tight ends, I can't say I selected Travis Kelsey much either. If I'm being quite honest with you, if it's redraft, I think I selected him one time just because fuck it, I only have him for a year. I don't really care. I don't have to worry about if he's coming back next year or for trying to play another 2 years. Who gives a fuck? I honestly don't want him just because fuck Taylor Swift. If I'm being quite honest with you, but nevertheless, but
Indeed.
nevertheless, like
Indeed.
Kelsey, I feel like he's
Kelsey
either going
does.
to give you once again. I still feel like he has a top 10 season under his one last top 10 season under his belt, and he's ready to ride off into the sunset. If they run a Super Bowl, he's definitely running off into the sunset. So we just got to see. And then Brock Bowers came into the league, killed it his rookie year. If Jacoby Myers, which at this point I don't think is going to happen, we're 2 days from the regular season starting. I don't see Jacoby Myers getting traded. That just doesn't make sense. Now, trade deadline. That's a different topic. If things don't shake out for the Raiders like they want to, then I could see them shipping out Myers. But at the very moment, Brock Bowers, I feel like would be the number one target in the offense. They also just signed Cooper, Amari Cooper to the team. We will get more on the wide receivers. Yeah,
I
we'll get more
forgot
on the wide
about Cooper.
receivers towards the end. But Brock Bowers, I feel like is the number one target. he is the number one tight end in that division for myself. I don't think it's actually even arguable. And where I still feel like for the next 10 years he'll be that tight end one, hopefully, health wise. We just gotta see. Uh,
Talented tight end in all of the
yeah.
association
Just
in
gotta
the
see what
league, I
Geno
should
Smith
say.
does. And I believe you'll agree with this 10 out of 10 times, Rocco. Geno Smith is better than the last quarterback the Raiders had. Shit.
Bro, they had fucking Mickey Mouse ass quarterbacks last year. You talking about Desmond the Riddler, fucking Aiden O'Connell, fucking Gardner Minshew? Get the fuck out of here. Those fucking guys
Didn't they
were
also have
fucking
Garoppolo at one
trash.
point?
Geno Smith, I
Trash.
don't know. Every fucking garbage ass quarterback. The only garbage quarterback they didn't have throwing for him last year was Derek
And he was
Carr.
mid at that. And the years before, so they haven't had. And I won't say he was. There's certain years where he was actually pretty good with the Raiders, and we won't speak on his time with the Saints because, well, he's gone. And but if we're looking at, and I said this at the beginning of the tight end discussion, the Chargers have and I'm not saying Coughlin is bad. Okay, I'm not saying he is shit. I actually like him as a route runner, as a receiver. He's actually pretty decent. I don't think he was used enough in New York last year. But
It's good.
when you're looking at the overall room, it's hard to compete with a Brock Bowers if you're Conklin, a Rondé Gadsden. It's hard to compete with a Travis Kelsey Hall of Famer if you're Conklin. It's hard to compete with I'm taking Evan Ingram over Conklin every single time because he's more athletic. He gives you more as a receiver. Fuck it. I don't give a damn about with Conklin and blocking for the most part. And then let's look at the passing volume. Broncos going to pass more than the Chargers. Chiefs are going to pass more than the Chargers. Maybe. We got to see how that running game, passing game goes. And then Raiders will be hit or miss. You don't draft Ashton Jeanty in the top 5 and not run the ball. But Brock Bowers is definitely going to get his. But in the real world, I don't see.
In the league.
Go ahead.
No, I said if they're leading the league in plays, everybody's gonna get their touches as long as they can move the ball and don't go three and out every series, which I don't think they will with the weapons that
Agreed.
they have.
So we just got to see what the Chargers going to do. Do I have Conklin somewhere as my tight end 2, my tight end 3? I would say more of my tight end 3, honestly. But then, yeah, I think he's a good value to have where he can give you some solid weeks. Not saying he has super high upside because I believe he's either 29 or touching 30. And then once again, the volume isn't going to be high with the Chargers. So you got Lad McConkey, Trey Harris, Keenan Allen. Those guys, and then if you really want to throw out there, Quentin Johnson. If I know there's still some truthers out there, so I won't leave y'all out the conversation. Conklin is probably, let's say, if he develops a good chemistry with Herbert, he becomes his safety blanket. I don't see him being anywhere higher than maybe third in the progressions. Anything, I'm not pushing it.
Mhm.
I could say fourth, so depending on how quickly Herbert and Keenan Allen get back to it. But Conklin isn't bad, but I think he's right in the middle of tight ends, right in the middle of acceptable production. What would you say about that?
Um, I think he's good. I don't know if that's going to lead to fantasy football production. I've been adding him just because after that first waiver run and after the draft, he's probably one of the more talented guys that are available on waivers that have done something in the league. And by something, I mean he's had multiple 500-yard seasons with the Jets, which is a feat in and of itself because Jets. Um, and the other thing is that Herbert, over the years, has liked to throw to his tight ends, even though his tight ends haven't been all that. He did make Disley a thing for parts of the season, but that was when all he had was Lad McConkey and maybe the worst football player in the whole NFL in terms of goofy ass drops. Quentin Johnson, who, I mean, how can anybody trust that guy after some of the, the fucking, what you call that old sketch from ESPN? Oh man, am I right?
Yes, it was all.
Is
I think
that
it was
one?
all
Oh
men.
man,
It was all. Yeah. I believe it was all
oh
men.
man, but yeah, you could fucking have an hour long fucking show with just fucking his lowlights. But anyway, before we get to receivers, I can see Conklin having a bit of a role. And the thing about tight end is that it's a low bar. If you just get, 3 catches for, I don't know, 40 yards in a tight end premium, that might be startable in a pinch. Um, because there's about 3, maybe 4 guys at the top, and then it's just a bunch of guys. Um, barring breakouts, if Evan Ingram jumps up into that stratosphere, he could this year. But for most teams, maybe half the league, that invested elsewhere, Conklin may be able to get him by on a bye week in an injury crunch, with just barely enough production where they're not taking zeros. But yeah, that's all he is. He's a tight end 2. If you're heavily invested in other positions, or a tight end 3, um, you know, you know, put him in case of emergency. But I do have a bit of Conklin, just because he
You're a smart
cost me a
man.
roster spot, and I think he's a good athlete, and he's in a decent situation on a decent offense with a quarterback that has shown a proclivity to throw to tight ends before. So I have him at the end of rosters, but that's about it. I don't have too much faith in him, and trust. If somebody sexy gets dropped, I'm dropping Conklin
And
on his
before we
head.
move over to the wide receivers, quick questions for you, right? Evan Ingram, would you spend a second to go get him now?
I think I would, yeah, in a tight
Travis
end
Kelce.
premium, yeah, yeah, because I can count on him to be to be my to be my starter basically a whole season. So he'll give me some security if I've been
Are
caught
you going to
lacking at
push
tight
that
end.
second to go get Kelsey?
No, fuck no. That dude has zero resale value. In the leagues where I have Kelsey, I can't give him away for a bag of chips. I fucking offered 2/3 for Kelsey, to trade away Kelsey, and I got left on red and ghosted. I might even got blocked. I don't
For
know.
off of
Usually
two
don't even answer
thirds?
his
That's what?
2/3. It's been sitting out there all off season because in this league I have a roster crunch where I have Njoku. I had Likely. I just traded for Kittle. I got
Okay.
Tucker Craft,
Deep.
and I have Kelsey. So I really don't have a need for Kelsey. And this guy has like shit for tight ends, and he won't even give me two fucking
I would
thirds
have said
for him.
that probably would have been a smasher set for me. I like 2/3 for Kelsey. And that's cheap. I feel like that's good.
I mean, a 26
Right, bro.
third,
What
like
the
who
hell
gives
is
a shit
people
about a
doing?
26 third? I'm just fucking stacking picks and trying to create space on my roster, and the dude's
That's
not even my
crazy,
friend
yo.
anymore.
And I feel like that's like Kelsey has fallen that far, but nevertheless. And then Brock Bowers, I feel like at this point, I haven't traded for Brock. I feel like at this point, it's kind of hard, but I feel like someone probably wants two
Can't.
first. Maybe that, and that's being light.
Two first,
That's being light.
bro, in the fucking Discord, in a full tight end premium, it was either 1.75 or 2. Dude said he wouldn't give him away for 4 fucking first. Like, honestly, anybody on my roster, if you give me four
Hey,
first, he
listen.
gone. Unless I feel like they're all gonna be like super late, which they may be. Like 4 first, like I'm letting go of any tight end.
Yeah,
Like,
it
what?
depends on now. If the tight end premium was like 4 points or some shit like that, then all right, maybe I'm keeping Bowers. But you said four first? She, she,
Four first. Yeah, you
she.
talking that 2 first? I don't think 2 first will get you him in fucking regular, like no
And
premium.
let's look at the overall. And like I said, before we get headed to the wide receivers, we're just remember that this episode is brought to you by Fast Draft. Getting on the action with Fast Draft's new rabbit format with lightning fast drafts and huge prize pool. It's the quickest way to play best ball, and by using our promo codes fourth, they will double your first deposit up to $50. I repeat, either one of these, they will double your first deposit up to $50. Get in the game, baby. Now, let's talk about these wide receivers, my guy. Which is oh, I always say this is one of my favorite. I love talking receivers. I love scouting wide receivers. I love just watching receivers play. It's my favorite position on the field. The Broncos, we was talking about Cam Sutton, we was talking about Troy Franklin, we was talking about Marvin Mims. I'm trying to think of some other guys that they have. They traded away Valet to the Saints. Yours truly, Saints. So, and then looking at the overall scheme of things, and if we're really looking at it, the Chiefs at the current moment might have the worst wide receiver core at the moment. That's crazy to say when you're thinking about a high octane offense as them. But Chargers, we've spoken on it. Chargers, Lad McConkey, Trey Harris, Keenan Allen, Raiders. Depends on how you feel about Jacoby Myers, but he literally has a group of people, a community that rides for Jacoby. You can't speak down. You can't speak down
I
on
do.
Jacoby no or against these people.
I
They said
Kobe
don't play with
Miles.
our guy. He's productive. You feel
Don't
me?
play.
So they have also Thornton, Jack Batch, uh, Trey Tucker, if you will, and then the Chiefs. Shoot, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith. Right? You feel me? Broncos,
Rice at some
Royals
point.
at one
Royals at
point.
some point.
But at the current moment, those guys aren't out. They aren't there. If you have Rasheed Rice, if you have Jalen Rose, then the topic is different. I won't say they would have the worst wide receiver room. That would probably go to the Raiders, if I had to say. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
So yeah,
that's
I
when
dig
I'm
it.
looking at the grand scheme of things or who I think could end up underestimate people are very much underestimating would be the Broncos wide receiver core. I don't think people are giving them well, I won't say enough credit because really only Cam Cortland Sutton did something last year. But for the most part, Marvin Mims came on towards the later of the year.
Mims,
But yeah,
Mims did some
but
stuff.
with the overall landscape of things, who are you betting on in the AFC West when it comes to receivers, right? Like, who do you feel good about?
Who do I feel good about? I think it goes back to the team that has, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the division from a fantasy football mindset. You know, you got the Broncos who got Cortland Sutton, who should be once again a at the very worst a low end wide
Very,
receiver too. You got Marvin.
very, yeah, at the very
What's
least
that?
of our low end wide receiver. Mm.
At the at the very least, I mean, you know, the way I build, I would rather have him as my three, but you can pass with him. You can pass with him as your two. They have Marvin Mims, who people forget actually won people leagues last year with in championship week. He had 100 yards, 8 catches, and 2 touchdowns, and that was the second 100-yard performance he had in the last 5 games. To go along with I think 5 touchdowns in the last 6. So he
Yeah,
came
he
on
did.
big time. When you talk about maybe like a Darren Sproles, I mean, he's a little bit different, but you talk about a guy that's fucking fast as fuck, and if he gets schemed open, can take any pass or any rush to the house. That's Marvin Mims. I mean, he even showed us athleticism with a high point in the end zone. You know, beasting the guy in that championship week So I think he's very talented, and that's before we even talk about your guy, who's beefed up, Troy Franklin. He didn't really do much in year one, but Sean Payton's guys don't always produce in year one. Outside of Alvin Kamara, who was undeniable, a lot of guys, it's got a very tough offense to pick up, and it takes time to learn the plays. And he's just not going to put you
Mhm.
out there if you're not ready. Case in point, Marvin Mims, who barely got onto the field. He had a 90-yard kickoff or punt return in year one, and that was basically the last we saw of him in year one. So that just goes to show you it takes time to learn that offense, and maybe year two is the year for him to break out. And the guy he's talked, most glowingly about, Pat Bryant. So I think collectively they have a lot of interesting receivers there. I couldn't tell you who is going to emerge from that group and be like, you know, the guy for fantasy football outside of the trustworthy Sutton. But I feel like another guy is going to emerge out of there and be very valuable in 2025. But as far as the whole group, I would say them. Um, you gotta give
Mhm.
the Chargers props because they have absolutely the best wide receiver in the division. Sorry, Rice, you're not playing, so you're not in this conversation until week 7 at the very best. Lad McConkey, who may not be a target monster, but over 1,100 yards, and we saw what he did in the playoffs. I think he broke records in the playoffs with his performance. It kind of shows his ability. We worry about the targets, but as far as talent, he is the cream of the crop in
Yep.
that division. Um, the Raiders, I like a lot of their guys. They're sneaky. Um, you know, uh, our guy Jacoby Myers, he's a rock solid wide receiver too. Later in, but he's a guy that you can have as your flex. So I really like him. You know how I feel
Yep.
about Beck. He's my favorite players in this whole draft. I love his story. I like his perseverance. We haven't heard much from him, but we are going to hear from him by, at some point this season. And a guy who's gotten all of the pub, Dante Thornton, who looks like they're starting X receiver. So yeah, I like a lot of these guys. I think it's a really good as far as depth at the wide receiver position. It may not be, stars on every single team. They do have some star power when Rice comes back with Lad McConkey, but they have a lot of good guys that are going to serve roles on a lot of different fantasy teams as wide receiver 2, wide
Mhm.
receiver 3, flex positions. You're going to want to have these guys on your team because there are going to be a lot of exciting games in the
Any
AFC
sleepers in this
West.
group that you like? If you consider Keenan
Um,
Allen a sleeper, I
I'd say
guess.
Dak.
If it's like,
Uh, I don't consider guys that are kind of like half past washed. What's funny is they got the two old receivers that had been sitting on waivers like all off season, Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper, who we heard false reports that he had actually
oh
retired.
yeah,
So shout out to the division. So they have these old ass dudes that are on their last leg that come into this division. But as far as sleepers, I wouldn't call dusty receivers sleepers. I'd call basically anybody after Cortland Sutton. Any of those guys could be worthy sleepers. My guy is Mims, so I would probably pick him. Um, as far as sleepers, I would go Jalen Royals if he can get to the field. And Jack Besh is that my guy. So, I have copious amounts of all of them kind of littered on the end of my bench and on
yeah. I'll have to
taxi
go with Troy
squads.
Franklin. He's probably my most rostered sleeper out of all the guys who I feel like if we're not talking about the number one guy or someone who just pops up automatically in your head as oh they produced last year, Troy Franklin. I really do believe that he takes that year two jump. I really do believe that he does come a more important part of this. or have a more important role in the overall offense. I think he'll end up finishing more plays, not than actually, because one of the things he actually did struggle with quite a bit last year was with drops. There was a few TDs that he fall through the basket that he left. He left some chicken on the field, man. He left some bread on the field. So I feel like those can drops can be, I won't say cured, but they could be worked on. You can work. It's more of a mental aspect than anything. So you get to that point. You got through. He, like I said, he added on weight. He's always, for me, I felt like he was always an underrated route runner. And then you throw in the athleticism, you throw in the chemistry that he has with Bo Nix. Troy Frank, Troy Franklin
Chemistry.
is for me a top sleeper, for definitely, for sure, in this division.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think he can emerge because, as you said, he already has that pre-written chemistry with the Bo Nix, who was his quarterback in college. So, um, as long as they didn't hate each other in college, I think they should show more chemistry in year two. It's all about getting Troy Franklin
Yeah.
onto the field, so they can connect on that chemistry because they can't connect on that chemistry when Troy Franklin's sitting on the bench. So hopefully he gets onto the field and hopefully all of these guys are up, man. Fucking 5,000 yards, Bo Nix. I'm here
Five
for it. Let's
thousand yarder for
go.
Boy Nix, or if it go for 4,500, 4,500, and then 500 on
Everybody's
the ground, whatever you want. Rambo, we rooting for you, my G. Now, down to the last position group, man. Actually, no. Before we get to the running backs, and go ahead and rank the wide receiver group for the AFC West.
it's tough because like none of them are like
No.
clearly the favorite, and none of them are clearly the worst. If we take into account, the Chiefs' Rashi Rice, are we gonna count the Chiefs' Sans
For
Rashi Rice
I say
right
just
now?
because people have to live in the real world, and in the real world, you don't have Rasheed Rice right now available to you, and you don't have Jalen Royals available to you right now. So, week one, that's the rosters are off of week one. That's what we're
Okay.
going off of.
Yeah, the Chiefs would contend for the best wide receiver group if they were all healthy. They got a lot of interesting guys, but without those two guys, they are
Mhm.
clearly last for me. Um, you know, there's not a lot, enough variety in type for me. It's super dusty. We talked about Amon Ross. It's funny. I mean, not Amon Ross, Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen, and add into the mix Juju Smith Schuster is just the fucking dustiest of dusty wide receivers. But they have two of the same archetypes, so it's hard for me to put them at anything but fourth in this division. And this is where it gets interesting. I would say I would say the Raiders are next, even though I like
Okay.
their room, paper, and talent wise. Um, you know, I, if you include the whole receiving options with Brock Bowers, they
Hmm.
obviously skyrocket up this list. But we're talking about wide receivers, and we're talking about Jacoby Myers, who's more of a two than a one, fantasy football and IRL. Um, so they would probably be third, but they have a chance to climb up if Thornton hit, if Jack Besh hits, then it could be up for them. But right now
Hmm.
they are third for me. Chargers are next. I love Lad McConkey. I think he's the best overall receiver. Trey Harris has a lot of talent, but I haven't heard his name much in the preseason. That worries me. But as a talent, I love the talent. Um, but any wide receiver group that has Quentin Johnson in it can't be the best automatically. And they do have Keenan Allen, so they're like what and what with the Broncos. I just think the Broncos have an established number one who may not be Lad McConkey, but he is established. He's a
Mhm.
rock solid number one, and they have a lot of talent, in their whole wide receiver room. So, give me, give me the mass amount of talent that they have in that room, and I'll put them at number one. But it's like split hairs between the
I like
Chargers
it,
and
man.
them, honestly.
I'll probably go that same direction for real, for real. Now, let's talk about these running backs. Let's get to the nitty gritty because I do. If you were kind of looking at it, only really, I was the only one who doesn't have a true running back committee would be Ashton Jeanty with the Raiders. I feel like he's the only workhorse one. Isaiah Pacheco has Kareem Hunt, and he also has Brashard Smith. Denver Broncos have J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. They Chargers got Amarion Hampton, and then we've heard news about Najee Harris this week. He says he's a full go, a full participant in practice, so it seems like he's back to full health. How are you feeling about this running back room or running back, landscape of the AFC West? I feel like if we're talking about who we think could be the top dog, you got two rookies. Could it be
Three
Ashton
rookies.
Gent? Oh yeah, you're right. With RJ Harvey as well. Could it be Ashton Genty as the top dog? You would hope with the top five, but is Ashton Genty the top dog right now?
I mean, he should be. He was drafted to be that guy, and I mean, there's nobody in that room unless Raheem Mostert has a career resurgence. But there's nobody in that room that's going to even contest with him for
Mm.
any kind of share. So, I mean, like, would we be disappointed if he's not getting 75% or more of the share? I mean, he's set up for it, unless
Mhm.
God forbid he gets hurt. But um, I mean, he wasn't that impressive in the preseason, but it's the preseason. I mean, we don't know exactly what these guys' actual goals are in the preseason. They might just be trying out stuff. I don't know. I don't watch enough
Good
of it
note.
to really have a great opinion.
That's a good
I'll be
note.
perfectly
That's a
honest
real
with you
good note.
because I think it's a lot of it's fucking a lot
That's
of
a
it's
good note.
false signal. So I think sometimes we get too high or low with the preseason. I watch highlights, and I'll read some of the headlines and try to glean some stories with like some of the beat reporters. But I mean, Jetty has all of the opportunity that you could ever ask for. He should be getting a three down workload. He should be getting a lot of catches, you know, out of the backfield, which was, something that he excelled at in 2023, and they scaled it back a little bit in 2024. But he's
Hmm.
shown the ability to be an
Yep.
excellent pass catcher. At the very least, at rudimentary passes, I would say he's a better pass catcher than like a
Hmm.
Jonathan Taylor coming in. So I think that he absolutely, you know, he could be. I mean, like when you look at his opportunity, would it shock anybody if he was the RB1 at the end of the season? No, because he's got the most opportunity in the entire league. So, will he do it? I don't know. Will it all come together for the Raiders? I don't know, but I think they have a good, serviceable quarterback. I think they're going to run a lot of plays, and as long as they keep the offense on schedule and they can keep drives alive and on schedule, I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities. So, um, you know, with all that being said, he is the class of the division, unless he's a fall on his face bust, Trent Richardson style. Which watching him in college, I don't think anybody could foresee that. One of the best tackle breakers we've ever seen, which is a great signal for a great running back. It was a big part of Bucky Irving's profile last year. But Bucky Irving was a fourth round pick. This guy was what, a
He
top
was a
six
top.
pick?
Yep. Top six pick.
Yeah. Top 10 pick any way you slice it. So he's going to get all of the opportunity he could ever want. So if he stays healthy, I don't see a world where he's less than a top five running back
And
in
then when we're
2025.
looking at the Denver Broncos, and There's been a lot of talk about these depth charts that got released today. I think actually people are losing their goddamn minds and take it
It's
right.
not worth the it's not worth
I'm
the web
telling you,
page
you're
they're written
putting
on.
too much. You're putting too much stock into these things. Travion Henderson is listed as the
Buying
RB
opportunities, all
three.
that is.
Uh, Bill is listed as the fourth string running back. That's not. Come on, guys.
Uh, I mean,
I mean
that could be
that.
true because I Chris Rodriguez is actually really good. I mean, anybody that watched that game against the Falcons last year, they saw exactly how talented Chris Rodriguez is, and I think he slides into that Brian Robinson role better than Brian Robinson. But all that being said, yeah, I mean, running back four,
So where I
that's
was
kind of
going with that
silly.
was the Broncos. There, someone had posted the Broncos depth chart and it had J.K. Dobbins as the starting running back over R.J. Harvey. How much weight are you putting into that?
I mean, I had already projected J.K. Dobbins to be the starting running back for that team. Like we said, Sean Payton is not going to automatically entrust his football team with rookies. Um, and RJ Harvey, he has some stuff he needs to clean up. You know, at times, and he did this in college. He won't stick his nose in there and get the yards that are blocked for, and he tries to bounce stuff outside. That, that's going to make for some exciting plays, but that's going to fucking drive Coach Sean Payton fucking nuts. And J.K. Dobbins, he's been hurt a lot, but he's a professional running back
Mhm.
at this point in his career. He's already a fifth year veteran. So, and he had a
Most
mostly healthy 2024. That mostly he didn't have any catastrophic
right,
injuries like the
right.
Achilles tendon and the and the ACL
Hmm.
pops that he's had seemingly every year in his career. So let's hope he can build off of a mostly healthy 2024. But yeah, he's going to get the first shot at it because he's a veteran that Coach Sean Payton can rely on, and he can bring in RJ Harvey slowly, give him some
Hmm.
opportunities out of the backfield, give him some opportunities where he can get him into space, where he can use that 4.4 speed and that elite misforced tackle ability. If he can get him in one-on-one situations where he can create explosives and create long plays, but as far as your guy that's your starter and the guy that's going to help you move the offense, I have no doubt that that's going to be J.K. Dobbins at least for the first half of the year. Maybe Harvey gets in there in the second half and blows up, but to start the season, I have no doubt that it's going to be J.K. Dobbins, health permitting.
Rocco, being where we're at in the, I might as well say the season now because the regular season is only 2 days away. So we can technically still say it's the off season, preseason, whatever. Preseason over, but off season. If you could know that the what the RB rooms played out to be to this day, when and you were going through your rookie drafts, Caleb Johnson and RJ Harvey are both on the board. I know there are certain points where Caleb uh, Caleb was still going ahead of RJ, but there were some guys that were very much, or I seen this quite a few times where people were taking RJ Harvey over Caleb Johnson. Now seeing where those RB rooms are, would you take RJ Harvey over Caleb Johnson, or are you going Caleb Johnson over RJ Harvey?
You mean the guy that the depth chart said is the running back three for
That's what the depth
Pittsburgh?
chart said.
We getting back to that, but yeah, it was those depth charts also. I think have RJ Harvey as like the RB3, so competing RB3s, so to speak. Um, it's hard to trust Arthur Smith, but Caleb Johnson is a perfect guy for the offense that he wants to run with that stretch zone running style, which is exactly what Iowa ran for him in college, where he fucking melted faces all of 2024. So yeah, I think that Caleb. I mean, it's close. I mean, it was close for all the rookie drafts, and it
Yep.
was flip a coin. Honestly, in any draft, you can see either one go, before the other. And there was a stretch where R.J. Harvey was going ahead. But give me the guy with the three down skill set. The guy that has the workhorse frame, and I wouldn't say frame so much because smaller backs do kind of break out, but the guy that looks the part of a
Mhm.
three down workhorse, give me Caleb Johnson. I think in very short order, he could become the face of the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least the face of their offense. By the time he gets acclimated and
And
really gets rolling, that Jalen Warren contract meant nothing to me. He's a backup running back, and you can't prove to me that he's anything other than a backup quarterback. A good backup, but still a
And
backup.
thank you for because that was going to be the next thing I was going to ask you about with the Jalen Warren contract. How you feeling about it? But same thing. We're on the same page. I don't give a fuck about none of that. None of that. And if any one of you are selling Caleb Johnson out, if that started a buy window, I will gladly take Caleb Johnson off your hands. Gladly. No.
Given a first
I
one,
mean, I would. But hey, I'm gonna try to go for a second. And shoot, since y'all talking about these depth charts, shoot, why do I need to give up a first rounder for someone that's third on the depth chart? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna work these depth charts in my way. But if I'm gonna send out some seconds for Caleb Johnson to see if anybody's smoking that crack rock. If they are smoking that crack rock, you're the customer I'm looking for. And I'm your plug. I'm your dealer. I'm your how that song go? I'm your brother. I'm your caddy. I'm the in the alley. I'm your pusher man. You know what I'm
oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue, but we'll have to play that
saying?
for a future episode. Consider we're not live right now. We might be able to get away with it without getting
Yeah, we're still on a
shadow banned
probation,
again.
y'all. So we're trying to stay. we're,
I can't put no YouTube
yeah,
shit
I'm
until we
trying. We
get the
we got a
clear.
few. We got a few more weeks. I think we got like another month or so until we're off of probation. So, yeah, I think
No
we're. I think we've
videos.
been holding nice and tight. Shout out once again, YouTube. We're trying to stay out of your crosshairs. Please don't take us down, baby.
Man, don't, man, we work so hard to get these subs, man. Don't
Don't
fucking
do
take
us
my
like this,
subs
man.
from me.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate
you,
to everybody,
everybody.
man. That taps in with us. Let's
We're almost 1,700. That's so
let's
fucking
end it
awesome.
off with the Chargers and their running back room, right? Amarion Hampton, and honestly didn't give a fuck about Najee Harris before the eye injury. The eye injury happened, still don't give a fuck. They saying he's fully fully healed, but I think the bread has already been put in. The pudding or the pudding's already in the bread. The bread is already in the pudding. Whatever the fucking saying goes. God damn it. The bread
Bread
is
is
already in
already
the
in the
oven.
oven.
And they've already seen what they wanted to see from Omarion Hampton. They already know what the caliber of back that they want or they what he can do on that field. And I'm not saying Najee Harris is going to be phased out because they're going to run that ball and Omarion Hampton is going to get tired. But he's going. There's no reason why he doesn't get the touches that he does get. And where we saw with J.K. Dobbins, they I won't say it was a, and honestly, they didn't really have a backup behind him, but nevertheless, I'm not counting on Najee Harris this year. I'm not even remotely. When we're talking about handcuffs, I don't even really consider Najee Harris as a fucking handcuff because Amari Hampton is that guy. He is that dude. He has a third down skill set. He has the size to be a workhorse running back, and he's the perfect example of a running back for a hardball offense. How are you feeling about Omarion Hampton going forward? Najee Harris is back. It looks like he is back and good to go. Do you give a fuck? Is that bothering you going forward?
Not necessarily, but I mean, we do have to realize that Najee Harris is a vet running back, and he's a guy that's been a workhorse in the past. He's not a workhorse
Yeah.
anymore, obviously. Um, but he's going to get 35% at the very least. Um, when this move was when these guys, when these guys
Mhm.
first got put together, I surmised, and maybe it's a bit of a hot take, but I could actually see Najee Harris being the
Mm.
third down back, which is weird.
Blocking wise, I could.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
pause.
But yeah, I could definitely what Rocco was saying with Raji. Well, not Raji, Najee. I could very much see him as a because people don't speak on it
Bro,
a lot, but or too often. But people also forget with rookie running backs, it is an adjusting period to get used to blocking schemes or passing schemes or just pass blocking. A lot of rookie running backs aren't good at it. There's only a few have come into the league pro like pass pro ready, and that's for a running back that comes to mind is Trevion Henderson. He is somebody who would deck your ass as a running back, and he's not even the biggest guy. He's only sub 200, 5'10", and he will snuff the fuck out you as a rookie running back. So that's what I don't want to throw Najee Harris to the side because that's what veteran running backs are really good for. And pass pro, they know who to block and they know how to block. But as a runner, explosiveness, playmaking, home run hitter, that's Omarion Hampton. That's everything Omarion Hampton is that Najee Harris isn't. Najee Harris is consistent. Najee Harris is a chain mover. Najee Harris is reliable. Najee Harris doesn't get hurt. His eye issue is the first really injury he got, which is crazy to say in your career for being relatively healthy. The first time you get hurt is by blowing your face off with a fucking firework. Crazy as shit to think about. But nevertheless, everything that excuse me, everything that you would want from a running back, Omarion Hampton does. I'm not going to say he's going to get all the trust, but they're going to get what they want. Like, once again, he was the one out of the two running backs that were taken in the first round. Nowadays, running backs that are taken in the first round, that means something. We're getting back to the grand scheme of things of running backs do matter. I know we went through that scary period where teams weren't running the ball as much. They weren't paying running backs. They're still, I guess, not the same as they were, but the importance of the position is coming back. And I like Omarion Hampton. And in a lot of places, you have to take Omarion Hampton in that third round of startups. Would even say some people have gone all the way to go to second round of startups to get Omarion Hampton. And I've been one of those folks that third, fourth round to go cop him. I feel like that's a good area for him, a young, explosive bat. How you feel about the overall startup value and just value in general of Omarion Hampton Dynasty or redraft wise?
I don't know. Uh, it's hard for me to invest a third round pick in Hampton and redraft because there's just
Agreed.
so many good players in that portion of the draft. Um, I'm probably better off letting him slide. If he starts to get into that late fourth, that fifth round, that sixth round, that's where I feel more comfortable with him. I wouldn't mind him as in my RB2 in a build where I got really
Yep.
good wide receivers. Maybe I went a tight end early if that's who kind of
Hmm.
slid to me. And that could be wrong. Amari Hampton absolutely could be a league winner. He could do some real damage with even 65% of the touches. In a run heavy offense. That really good Greg Roman offense that had a career revival out of J.K. Dobbins last year. Imagine a guy that's just a
Hmm.
fucking unit back there. Um, but I have a hard time pulling the trigger there. There's just some other guys, especially in redraft. Dynasty. I would feel better in the third round, but in redraft, where I have to count on the guys, this year, I'd probably pull the trigger on
I like
somebody
that,
else.
man. And to end us off here, go ahead and rank the running back groups for us in the AFC West. Who is the shittiest group?
Who is the shittiest group? Um, I would have to
We're right there.
say the
I'll go say it.
Chiefs, even though as time goes on, I can see Pacheco having that last hurrah. And I mean, if you look at it, he almost has to be like the centerpiece of the offense with their depleted
Mhm.
wide receiver room. Him and Kelsey would have to be, the weapons of choice for that team. With Rashi out and Royals, we have to see if he's going to make
Mhm.
a year one impact. Um, but just because of the rest of the division and the talent that they have, I would put him fourth. Um, Next, I would probably go with J.K. Dobbins and Harvey. I could see a split there, and I mean, we just talked about they returned all five starters and had the best run block win rate. So, um, who's to say they couldn't jump up there? But just in talent level alone, I'm gonna have to put them third, even
Mhm.
though I like their two backs, and I think they're gonna make a really good duo. I would say the
Okay.
Chargers are next. Really good rookie running back, first round running back in Hampton, and a solid vet in Najee Harris. And I just got to go with the Raiders first because they got Ashton Jeanty.
And
That's
then just
it.
give us one sleeper out of this group that you're wanting to keep an eye on. For me, I would say it's Brashard Smith, especially with the wide receivers that they have banged up. If you didn't know, Brashard Smith is a former wide receiver converted running back. I could see them with since Pacheco and both Kareem Hunt are healthy. I could see them throwing out him out there, splitting him out wide, throwing him in the slot, trying to get him as much touches as a receiver as possible to get some explosiveness because he is a 4-4-4-3 type of guy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to find a sleeper in this group. I think you know guys basically have their roles kind of
Mhm.
established for the most part. There's not a bunch of gray area and
Yeah.
who's going to get what there. It's easy to envision, kind of the shares of all of the running backs in that division. But if I had to pick one who's kind of undervalued, um, a guy that I've liked for years, I've been a truther basically since he's been a rookie. And I mean, that dude has just had the worst luck. I mean, to have, multiple ACL injuries, to have an Achilles tendon tear, and to still have a really good season last year, and a guy that can absolutely be, a higher end RB2 in Denver. I got to go with my guy J.K. Dobbins. He does everything pretty well, and I think he's going to get the starter touches for at least the first half of the year, if not the whole year, as R.J. Harvey sits there and learns the playbooks and
Mhm.
becomes familiar and expert in that offense. So give me J.K. Dobbins. I think he's a guy that people kind of written off in the past, but he's just kind of hanging around and making a good
Hell,
career for
best
himself.
best ball. I like me some J.K. Dobbins. You know what I'm saying? But just got to see how that week goes. And speaking of, that's a great transition. Speaking of best ball, also remember this episode is brought to you by Fast Draft, the fastest best ball platform out there. Get your ass in the game. Lightning flash drafts, huge prize pools. They're trying to get you money in your pocket. Use both of our codes promos, fourth, and they will double your first deposit up to $50. Both of our promo codes double $50. That's our episode of the AFC West. It was another banger. That actually wraps up our series, our division series breakdowns, which was fun. We went across all the eight divisions in the NFL. NFC, AFC. We broke down who we liked, sleepers, losers, winners, who could pop out, who could make you want to go into your bed and cry at night. For it's just it really I,
Sometimes you gotta
pop out
pop
and
out and
show a
show them.
motherfucker. You feel me? Once again, another fun episode. 2 days away from the regular season kickoff, Eagles versus Cowboys, which means the fantasy is underway. We're working to get more championships on our butt cases, on our trophy cases. We're trying to get y'all some championships as well. This is Fourth and Fantasy. My name is Honcho. And actually, before we even sign off, right? Before we even get to that, yeah, Rocco got the hardware for y'all. He's getting more of those chips. I'm getting more of these chips. Our boy Max is getting more chips. We're going to win leagues, even in leagues that we're in together and we're competing. Fourth and Fantasy is going to win one way or another, whether it's me or him. Hopefully it's me, but if it's him too, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Rocco, let the people know, man. What do we have for them? What's Fourth and Fantasy the home of?
We're a fantasy football podcast for Dynasty Sickos by Dynasty
Oh, and
Sickos.
you know what it is.
Let's
I'm
get ready for
Honcho.
kickoff.
This is my guy.
Siriaco, call me
And
Rocco.
we're ready
Let's
to
kick
kick
it
your
off.
teeth in this fucking fantasy season. Let's get it. Hope y'all have a good rest of your day, night, whatever time it is that you're viewing us, however you're viewing us on the TV, on your phone, on your laptop. Thank you all for tapping in with us. Join our free Discord. We're actually growing. I was looking at it today. It's actually made me feel warm on the inside because I saw how many people were online. It used to be where it was just us three, me, Max, and Rocco. We've grown it. Now we've about to hit. We're getting towards 100 people in the Discord. Shout out to everybody that's taps in with us. Shout out to everybody that talks with us on Twitter, X. Shout out to everybody that views a YouTube video and comes in the comments. Thanks to everybody who likes and shares. Thanks to everybody who supports. It's free 99.9. We're here, another fantasy under wraps. We gave y'all season 1 last year, and season 2 is officially underway. Till next time, this is Fourth and Fantasy. Hope y'all all have a good rest of your night.